All right, so today we're really diving deep into a fascinating figure, Thomas Sankara, a leader who, well, he dreamed big, not just for his nation, but for the whole of Africa.
And it's funny, when you think of Sankara, you think revolutionary.
Yeah.
But his story, it actually starts much more grounded, in the classroom, in his upbringing. Born in 1949 in what was then Upper Volta, his journey, it kind of mirrors so many others, shaped by those early influences.
Okay, so paint a picture for me. We've got a young Sankara excelling, from what I understand, in school, military school no less, good at pretty much everything, academics, athletics, the whole 9 yards. At what point does that revolutionary spirit, that drive, start to really take hold?
Well, and that's the question, isn't it? I mean, you can't discount the influence of his dad, a military man himself. Discipline, that was huge, really instilled it in him. But it's when Sankara heads to Madagascar, officer training, that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, this is where he encounters some pretty radical ideas for the time. Marxism, anti-colonialism, that's pretty heady stuff, especially for someone, well, let's just say with a more, shall we say, traditional upbringing.
It's like a light bulb moment.
Yeah.
Suddenly everything clicks. And remember, this isn't just theoretical for him. This is Sankara seeing the poverty, the injustice back home in Upper Volta.
Yeah.
These ideologies, they weren't abstract. They were his reality.
It's one thing to have these realizations, but Sankara, he always seems to put thought into action. He returns to Upper Volta, and even before officially entering the world of politics, he's already making waves, shaking things up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, he becomes Secretary of State for Information, a pretty high-ranking position.
Yeah.
But Sankara, he's never been one to shy away from speaking his mind, even if it ruffles some feathers, challenges the powers that be.
And that fearlessness, that refusal to be silenced, it's almost like a defining characteristic of his. There's that famous quote of his, "Woe to those who silence the people." Talk about a statement.
Powerful, isn't it? It gets to the heart of who Sankara was, his commitment to giving a voice to those who felt voiceless. This wasn't just some slogan. It was a core principle that would guide his every action.
And, all that we're talking about, that refusal to be silenced, that drive to take action, it really takes center stage in 1983.
Oh, yeah.
August 4th, to be precise. I mean, this is the day Sankara, at just 33 years old, becomes president of Upper Volta. But, I mean, come on, this wasn't just your average changing of the guard.
No. We're talking full-blown revolution here.
Mm.
And it makes sense, right? You've got this nation yearning for change, desperate for it, really. And Sankara, he represented that clean break, a chance to hit the reset button. He was a promise for a better future, one where the people, their needs, they came first.
And he doesn't waste any time in making that clear. One of the first things he does, renames the country. Upper Volta is out, Burkina Faso is in, land of upright people. That's a statement right there, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, we're not talking about some PR stunt here. This was about redefining the very soul of the nation, instilling a sense of pride, of ownership. Sankara understood that real change, lasting change, it starts with identity.
And the changes he implemented, I mean, where do you even begin? In just 4 years as president, the sheer scale of the reforms, it's kind of mind-blowing. I know you were particularly interested in his approach to agriculture.
Yeah, for Sankara, it all came down to empowerment. He saw how dependent Burkina Faso was on foreign aid, on these outdated agricultural practices. It was holding the nation back, keeping them trapped in a cycle of, well, frankly, dependence.
So break free from those external forces, right? Turn inward, focus on self-sufficiency. Was that the core idea?
Exactly. Sankara, he implements land redistribution, gets the land into the hands of the people who actually work it. Incentives for local production, that was huge. He wanted to see Burkina Faso standing on its own 2 feet, not relying on handouts, on imports.
It wasn't just about food security, though, was it? I mean, it seems like Sankara, he saw this as a social justice issue as well.
100%. For him, it was all connected. Empower farmers, you empower communities, you lift people out of poverty, give them a real stake in their own destinies. And this commitment to equality, to social justice, it really underpinned everything he did, especially in healthcare.
And this is where we see some of his most remarkable achievements. Those vaccination campaigns, for example, absolutely incredible. To think, in just a few years, he managed to make significant strides in reducing child mortality rates.
It's a testament to his belief in healthcare as a fundamental human right. Sankara, he poured resources into public health, focused on preventative measures, and the impact, well, it speaks for itself. He was building a healthier, more prosperous future for Burkina Faso.
And we can't forget another area where Sankara's legacy continues to shine: his unwavering dedication to women's rights. You could even argue that he was decades ahead of his time when it came to this issue.
Well, without a doubt, he understood, I think, more than most leaders of his time, that you can't have a truly just and equitable society if you're leaving half the population behind.
And it's amazing, how much Sankara managed to achieve domestically, but he didn't stop there. He saw Burkina Faso, their fate, as inseparable from the rest of Africa's. This whole idea of Pan-Africanism, that was a major driving force for him, wouldn't you say?
It was fundamental to his entire worldview. I mean, Sankara truly believed in a united Africa, throwing off the shackles of colonialism, neo-colonialism, the whole lot. He saw the economic exploitation, the crippling debt. I mean, these weren't just isolated incidents, right? They were symptoms of this much larger systemic problem.
And he called it out, didn't he? The IMF, the World Bank. He wasn't afraid to point fingers at these institutions, their role in perpetuating these systems. That took some guts, especially for a leader, let's be honest, of a relatively small nation.
Oh, absolutely. But he went beyond just criticizing, you see. Sankara, he offered a way out, an alternative. Self-reliance, that was his rallying cry. African nations supporting each other, breaking free from this dependence on foreign aid with all its strings attached.
It's those speeches at the UN, particularly that one in 1984, people still study them today. He was challenging the very foundation of global power, and his words, they resonated, especially with young people across Africa.
They saw in him what they longed for in their own leaders, someone who understood their struggles, someone who wasn't afraid to speak truth to power. Sankara, he became a symbol of hope, a beacon for those who dared to dream of a better Africa.
It's such a powerful image, this young, charismatic leader standing on the world stage, challenging the established order. But as we know, Sankara's story, it ends tragically. October 15th, 1987, the day he was assassinated. A stark reminder of just how dangerous it can be to challenge the status quo.
It was a devastating loss, not just for Burkina Faso, but for the continent as a whole. So much potential, so many hopes, dashed in an instant. Many believe, and I'd have to agree, that those who felt threatened by his vision, by his revolutionary ideas, they played a part in his downfall.
It's hard not to feel that sense of loss, but even now, decades later, Sankara's message, it still resonates. Self-reliance, social justice, Pan-African unity, these ideas still hold so much power. What do you think it is about his legacy that continues to inspire people today?
It's his unwavering commitment to action. Sankara didn't just talk about change, he lived it, breathed it. He showed the world that even a small nation like Burkina Faso could stand up, challenge the global power structure, fight for what's right. His life, though tragically cut short, it's a testament to the power of one person, one idea to change the world.
It's a story that stays with you, Sankara's story. Inspiring, challenging, a little bit heartbreaking too, if we're being honest. But at its core, it reminds us that real change, lasting change, it requires courage, conviction, a willingness to question, to challenge, to fight. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's worth asking ourselves, how can we channel that same spirit, that same fire, to make a difference in our own communities and the world around us? That's something to think about, to sit with as you continue to explore the incredible legacy of Thomas Sankara.